Today is February 12th. It's the Policy Advisory Committee. We'll start with attendance. Go around and say who's here. Rob, we'll start with you.
Hi, Rob Bezzanotti, Assistant Superintendent.
Andrew Hennius, Attorney for the Committee.
Erin Earl, School Committee Chair.
Jennifer Lima, School Committee Member.
Laura Bateman, parent.
Jason Diego, parent. Jason Strong, student at North Kingston High School.
Mia Thompson, teacher at North Kingston High School and parent.
And Charles Kozenko, IT Supervisor.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everybody. There's nobody here for citizens' comments. We've got two batches of minutes to approve because we weren't able to approve the November ones at the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look both of them over? I'll take a motion to approve both of them at once, if anybody wants to make one.
I make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, awesome. So, I wanted to try to finish, Rob, if it's okay with you, the purchasing one before we go to the cell phone, because I think we're 90% of the way there.
Sure.
Erin's shaking her head.
Whenever you say that, it's like 45 minutes
But
later.
we had gotten really far the
I believe
last
you.
time. And,
Bad luck. This is the revised one we're looking at?
why can't I find my Google Drive? Hold on, I lost everything.
It's
It should be dated pretty close to,
like January 2nd.
yes, red line, that one. Yes, that one, thank you. So when we left at the last meeting, we had talked about, I'm trying to remember, let me pull up my email, because I had sent it to Ken so he could look at it, because he wasn't gonna be able to be here.
You might wanna go around. Nope. Or never mind. You can sit there. I was gonna say if you want to get to this way, it's easier to go.
It's easier to go that way.
The ones
No,
that
they-
in January.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's okay. She can sit.
Just give it a second.
I know what you're
Just
doing.
give it
Yeah.
That's not.
How you doing?
Hi, good, everybody.
Good.
Sorry for late.
No,
It's
you're
okay.
fine.
So at the last meeting, we had talked about, let me look at my, bear with me one second.
Right here.
Okay.
There was questions that we had for Andrew about, like, there's some notes from Andrew, like about lowest bidder and things like that. I think there were some questions regarding that, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to go to the last one, hold on a second. Yeah, we had talked about, we had wanted to make sure we added the actual statutes, make sure that we updated the amounts. We wanted to talk about adding we wanted to make sure that we modeled the language to reflect the town charter. We wanted to make sure that we updated the, there was something else that we were adding, I'm trying to remember.
I think we added the minority. Do we add the minority
We
business?
did, we
and small
added the
business and women? Yep.
minority purchasing clause.
Yep.
And we had talked about, Jason, you had brought up something about,
Just being clear with the process, so like not necessarily having it in here, but referencing.
that we
what-
had a
what-
process,
That this is the
yes.
process and somebody could look and see what the process entailed.
Yep, we added that, and I'm trying to think what else,
Just need to get, you got it. It's in the policies in progress folder.
oh, in that, we added the language about, being able to have a conversation that wasn't a conversation, regarding, like, just to make clear that you can't, like, discuss the actual quote with a vendor, but you can have conversations related to, like, things in general. I'm trying to find where that was. Yeah, discussions regarding current or future bids with companies who wish to be considered for selection should be limited to purely informational demonstrations available to any other prospective buyer client.
Where are you right now, Janice?
Under
The
6, preparation of bids.
Page 4.
Okay, got it.
Because we had had a discussion about that and how did we make sure we stayed within the law, but being able to have conversations where necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Under that contractor insurance, is that like the current standard for the $1 million of general liability?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we updated that insurance language to say that, to reach out to the insurer, to find out what the specific, to reach out to find out what the specific requirements for each, job are.
What's, for number 9, it says, willful failure to comply, willful failure by any school employee to comply with this section shall be unlawful and shall be punishable by a fine not exceeding $500 and the cost of prosecution or by both.
It's the statute.
I believe
That's
that-
from the statute?
I'm gonna pull that statute right now. I know the statute is a $500 fine.
Yep.
See if the rest is for that.
From whom though?
I don't know that anyone's ever been charged with it, but hang tight, it's fine
Andrew,
now.
don't say stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
You know when the Girl Scout cookies we have lemon and Thin Mints? Just raise your hand, we'll slide them over.
And 45, 55, 17, any person who knowingly and intentionally violates any provision of this chapter shall be subject to a misdemeanor punishable by a fine of not more than $500 or by imprisonment of not more than 1 year, or both.
And that's
That's the
45,
stat, that's 45, 55,
55,
17.
Oh,
Yep.
17. We don't reference
Does
that
that have to
anywhere.
go?
No,
there?
because it's in the charter, our town charter, it's
that may be-
delivered, like it's.
If that's in the law, though, what
Yeah,
is the?
our charter says, the town charter says willful failure to comply, willful failure by any town or school employee to comply with this section shall be unlawful and shall be punishable by a fine not exceeding $500 and cost of prosecution or by both. That's the exact.
Can we
So
write,
is that
can we
why we're-
write per town charter?
The whole thing is by town charter, like everything in here from 1 through, like this whole thing.
It doesn't say that though.
We can add that, cause everything from the word,
Like on page 2,
everything from
like quotations.
all purchases of or contracts for down is from the charter.
Yeah, so I feel like it's gotta go here.
But if it's legal language, you think it has to go, because it just feels like we're not in the business of fining people, really, or prosecuting.
No, yeah, we wouldn't, I would say like, at the top, it should, like in the top of section, where before quotation 1, it should say like, in compliance with the North Kingstown Town Ordinance, like, the below is, whatever, we need to follow the below kind of vibe. And then, I think, if you at least have that, it's under there, but I do say, I think you could add something to number 9 about like, by the town or by something, like, it's not us. That could be any revenue source.
Is it by the town then?
I don't know.
If it was local, then the town could, in theory, could prosecute it.
But it's a state law.
Yeah. You know,
So that-
I mean, I've actually run into this once before, it was referred to the state police.
Yeah.
Nothing happened, but it was referred to the state police.
Just leave it, I don't care.
I had the citation at the end.
That works, that helps.
The RIGO?
Yep,
Okay, what's the citation?
I put it in there already, it's
Okay.
455517.
Okay.
You put it at the very bottom?
Yep.
Got it.
I'm gonna add it next to that sentence. What is it,
Andrew, can we repeat it for Jen?
You
It
want
was
the whole thing?
45, 55, 17.
what is
Yep.
it?
Penalties.
45, 55, 17?
Yep,
Okay.
penalties.
Okay. And then we added the part about, small businesses, minority businesses, which we had not discussed the last time, so that's all brand new. And that's taken from East Greenwich's.
Yep.
The way that the state does that is you actually get a point, like on the rubrics, like there's an actual, like,
Yep.
quantitative thing for that. Does it define, like, is there a definition for small business?
There is, and I know
So the
for minority.
Department of Labor has it,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, on the website, yep.
Fine.
And I think that covers everything that we talked about the last time. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
Just a question, are we still looking as we go through and modify these to do something consistent with the labeling of paragraphs to help with like referencing? Like as example, this is one where if you wanna talk about, is this paragraph consistent to this one? It's really difficult when you say, well, like 3 paragraphs down from this heading. And we could adopt one of the ways, like some of the other policies have good, like, you know, every paragraph is numbered and then every subparagraph is a letter. And if we adopted something like that, we would be able to reference within these policies pretty effectively.
Can you, like, just give me an example?
Sure, like for example, on this one, if it was number 1, purpose.
Yep,
And then number 2, philosophy, and then depending on how you broke it up, like this would be, you know, tab in, subparagraph alpha, tab in,
Gotcha.
subparagraph
Okay, yep.
bravo. So that you could always say, oh, paragraph 1 Charlie,
2A,
as compared to
2B,
2, yeah.
yep.
The other option
I guess-
is you do the lines, like, you know, like the state
Oh,
does.
yeah,
it,
or
like,
line
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
numbers.
Yeah. So you can say, but that way is easier.
I was gonna say you lost me with lines.
It's
You
like
know.
the way the lines are in the law, like it's like,
Yeah.
it's like
Oh.
each line is, each
Or
number
transcript,
line is
yeah.
Yeah, I
numbered,
don't like
yeah,
that,
I
yeah,
don't like
I
that.
like that better, yeah, yeah, we can do that. How did everybody feel about that, doing, like, and then we just consistently, as we touch them moving forward, make them all look like that. That way there is consistency with them. Okay. Okay, I'll format that like that when we're. Anybody else? Are we good with this one? So with this one, we will delete the other one that has been incorporated into this one, so we'll just have one purchasing policy moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay. So I will make a motion to move DJC and DJF with the modifications we discussed forward to the school committee for approval.
Second?
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, awesome. Okay, Rob, you're up, cell phone.
All right, cell phone. So, just a little background on this. So the district established a committee consisting of, school administration, teachers from multiple, grade levels, students, parents, as well as, district administration. And first I want to thank all of those who volunteered to be part of that committee, because we put a lot of work in, and they came on their own time, they volunteered their time because they wanted to see that this policy got written in a way that was going to work in the context of the school setting. So we worked to do that. We kind of split into two groups. We had a cell phone group, we had an AI group, which I know is also on the agenda for tonight. The cell phone policy is, the background is, as you may or may not know, is rooted in state law that was written and passed last year, that said that all school districts had to have a written policy restricting the use of students and cell phone use in place for September of 2026. So heading into the next school year, we have to have a policy that's on the books in order to comply with the law. And so that was obviously the driver of this. As a group, we met and we had a lot of spirited discussion. It was, again, good to have different voices represented. We had the students there who definitely had opinions, strong opinions of this policy, and then also the perspective from the teachers at different levels, middle school level and high school level especially. Administration provided some good perspective in their day-to-day things of that nature. What ultimately, if we're talking big picture, I know there's a lot of comments on here which we can go through. Broad-based, the group really came to the conclusion that we wanted the policy to function as almost like just a setting of the ground rules of what this should be, and that the real specifics, if you will, that we leave some leeway at the building levels for them to frame that into their handbooks. And so there could be some wiggle room depending on, especially a middle school or high school thing, because we know that the environments are different there, the kids are different ages and so on and so forth. So we tried to work that in. And so really it's going to provide us with a bit of a guide to formulate handbook language that will be more specific at the individual building level as far as enforcement and expectations, things like that. So with that, we can discuss, some of the comments on here. I know that the first one there, Jen, you had mentioned the piece about staff expectations, see federal way policy. I'm actually not familiar with that. What's that? What is that exactly?
Sorry.
I'm just at the first comment from Jen.
I gotta go back up to, why can't I get up to the top? There, I've seen, I think I put it in the drive, where is it? There have been several, I can't find it either, I thought I dropped it in the thing, sorry. Anyways, the point of that was that I've seen a lot of conversation on these cell phone policies that have a language around it that also covers staff, with the thought that, staff should also be modeling the same, type of behavior expectations, that if students aren't supposed to be using their electronic devices, that staff should not be also. And I know that this is intended as a student policy, but I wondered whether a conversation around staff usage had come up at all.
I can't speak to that. I'm not sure if that's, yeah.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So I think the way the high school did it was very, very good in my opinion. They basically said, you're professionals in the field. Obviously, nobody's walking around with their cell phones in front of them, but, we all have young kids, we all have lives outside of school, and I think for a lot of us, it is kind of like a communicator during our lunch break and stuff. So I think the verbiage pretty much from Shivali was, you're the professional, you should know, what you need to do with your phone, and it shouldn't be like me micromanaging you, basically. So, and I think I haven't seen teachers with their cell phones out a lot, right? I mean, I don't think any of us are waving our cell phones around to begin with, because most of us are too busy teaching to do that. So, but the verbiage was very like, look, we're not gonna tell you to put away your cell phone, we're just gonna assume that you're gonna
Yeah.
be professional and put away your cell phone, and I think that works just
Okay.
fine.
So it was discussed?
It was absolutely
Yeah.
discussed,
Okay.
more than once.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, all right, so next. School grounds and during school-sponsored activities, so this pertains, Jen, to, is this?
I'm sorry, under the purpose, do we wanna note that it's, like, the purpose is also be in compliance with the state law?
Yeah,
Probably.
Might not hurt.
Yeah. Add compliance with state law, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because honestly too, that the state laws, the way it's written too, there are certain things that we don't have legal room on.
Yeah,
right?
it's-
Like, they,
it's-
like,
Yeah, you're going
Have to say
beyond on
that.
some and you're, yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to do
yeah.
some things that maybe we wouldn't do as a district, and then vice versa.
Correct.
Yeah, so I do
Yeah.
think just making sure that is noted, cause that is the purpose of this, is to be in compliance.
yeah, cause I think if that state law ever changed, honestly, that honestly could bring up a whole bunch of different conversations. 'Cause a lot of the things that came up was like, well, we don't like, that doesn't make sense, we can't do that, it doesn't matter if it makes sense, like, it's.
Well,
the
but
state
I
law
do
says you
think
can't
that
do it
that
that way, as we kinda had to, it's.
That
it's,
information is interesting though, because state laws can be changed, and so I think too, like changing that and noting some of those things.
My guess is this one will be changed.
Oh, I will guarantee it will be.
Yeah.
But I think we are also, we're able to talk on behalf of the citizens of North Kingstown, including the students, and advocate for them. So that is something that we would want to know of, like what we didn't change but might have wanted to, so we can make sure that our NK voice is up at the State House.
Is it intended to include on the bus? It's not listed?
No.
Okay, so the
No.
bus is
So,
excluded.
no, right, it's intended to be during the hours of the school day, during the instructional hours, so like bell to bell is what we talked about. That was like our phrase that we used, it was like, this aligns to from bell to bell, so bell to start the day and bell to end the day, is what we're talking
The
about.
statute actually says school grounds and during school-sponsored activities.
Yes, so it could be, well, school-sponsored activities could be,
Maybe a field trip.
it could be a field trip,
It could also be extracurriculars.
could be.
It could also
Not-
be, technically
But-
the school bus is school grounds.
But
But
there
don't
was
think-
clarification.
Don't forget, if you
In
go
that
down in
line.
that paragraph, what it talks about is, during the school day as defined by the Department of Education. And when you go to those regulations, and I can pull them up if I have to, it does not include recess, it does
No.
not include, I don't believe it includes passing time, I think it
No,
only
it doesn't, it
includes.
includes instructional time.
No.
So, no, because the Superintendent's Association gave us an update on this too. They sought guidance from RIDE on exactly that, and the guidance they got was that it actually technically applies to the instructional
Yeah,
time.
they actually break down the minutes in the
They actually break it,
regulations.
so like minutes of instruction is what it is, so it doesn't, per that interpretation, doesn't include passing time, it doesn't include
Lunch.
lunchtime. But we also felt as a group, having conversations, that the ambiguity of like allowing them during certain times versus not other times might not be the best thing to do within a policy. And that there could be potential room for more more flexibility, like through the school-based protocols.
So just from the regulation, school day consists of not less than 5.5 hours, 330 minutes of actual schoolwork, excluding lunch, recess, study hall, homeroom, common planning time, passing time, pre and post student teacher time, and any other time that is not actual instruction time.
Right.
What's passing?
That was a, that was, that was
In between
a,
classes.
It was like an
yeah,
opinion.
it was like a regulations.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that if, I very much believe in the difference between policy and procedure, but if the policy is saying no cell phones,
Mhm.
but the practice might be to let students have it during lunch or during passing or whatever it might be, then I do think the policy has to call that out. Like because then if not, it like waters down the policy, because then kids don't understand, like I wouldn't understand why the policy says no cell phones, why the handbook says no cell phones, but then some kids have their cell phones.
Well,
No,
this
no,
says-
no, no,
your-
no,
your
no, we're not
policy is
saying
gonna be
that.
no cell phones, right?
Yeah, no,
this is
our
going
policy
against
says
state
no
law.
cell phones.
Or the draft currently says.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
Just
Right.
saying.
right, the draft.
What is currently written, yeah.
And again, that was something that the group felt was a better route to take, given the realities of this type of, the cell phone issue in a high school. That it was better to be clear and very definitive about what we expect in North Kingstown schools.
Should we define what a school day is? Like you just did, like bell to bell instructional time?
We could.
I think you have to, because
Yeah.
the question of the bus will be
Yes.
a big question for parents, I think.
And students, my
Yeah.
children have already asked about
Yeah.
school bus usage
Yeah.
or cell phone usage on school buses.
So just to confirm, like, so we're talking field trips, and I don't know, like at my previous school, because of where we were, like, sports teams had to leave early, so they leave during the school day. I know the school day at North Kingstown High School is done super early, so that doesn't seem to be an issue, but if it happened that a sports team had to travel, it's not instructional time, but it's still within the instructional day, would that be part of this? Like, I think
I think
like,
that's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's up
Be
to
honest
so,
with you, I
so
think
what I
that's
would
up to
say
this
is,
committee.
what I would say, and again, this is just me, what I would say is that it would apply to, like, the instructional time happening in the school building during school hours, like the school hours of the day.
So the reason I bring that up is because when you say instructional hours, what I think about is in-class time. But then you were talking about passing time and lunchtime and other times where cell phones may not be acceptable, because I just think there needs to be some clarity on what that means. Like, if we're not having cell phones during I feel like passing time is the big time. Like, like if you allow it, like if we're saying that it's not during instructional time, they're not in class, so it's not instructional time, well, passing time is not instructional time,
Right,
so
and it's
therefore
exempted
by our
under the
policy,
regulation.
then I could see an area where there could be pushback if we are saying that they can't have them during passing period, because that's an issue, but then, like, I
Right.
feel like there's a disconnect between what that looks like, and I think it needs to be spelled out a little bit more clearly, because if you just say instructional time, what I think is just like from the beginning of the class period to the end of the
Yeah.
class period, because the passing period and lunch is not instructional time.
So, agreed. So to Jen's point earlier, it says under high school, student personal electronic devices must be kept out of sight and not used at any time during the school day. Jen's saying we want to define what we mean by school day, right?
Maybe more, like to Jason's point, like, cause I hear you, like, to me, instructional time, you're right, if I'm in the hallway passing, that's not instructional time, right? Like, even though technically, I think we wanna define, when you're saying prohibited during the school day, what do you really mean? Like, are you saying, while you are in the building, between the bell time and the
Mhm.
bell time, you
Mhm.
can't use it, right?
Correct.
That's what you're saying, so I think we wanna clarify
Mhm.
that and
So
be
with it-
specific.
Okay.
And I was gonna say maybe adding, and I don't wanna make it too wordy, but maybe adding a piece where, like for field trips or for sporting events, once again, I don't know how many teams leave during the day, or if this is even an issue, just going from my previous experience, but having maybe a carve out where the principal or coach or whoever else has the ability to approve and accept, I don't know, like, I just,
If we say
I
like
think,
in
like-
the building though, it doesn't matter, cause
Yeah, I
you're
guess
not
if you're
in the
out-
building.
In the
Outside
building.
the building.
I think we
Okay.
specify just in the
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
okay.
you know? In the school building, between, or, between the hours of school start time and school end time. I'll have to,
What if you go on an academic field trip?
what if you go on an academic field trip, like during the day?
Sure. During school hours.
I mean, if we're gonna.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Also,
I'm gonna say that a couple times.
The deeper you dig, the.
Mhm.
No, I'm not, I mean, we know where I land on this one.
Yeah.
Chaz, do students have the ability to use the chat feature in Google?
The chat feature,
Mm-hmm.
like just through like,
Yeah, so like I have an
Search?
NK account, And if I wanted to message you right now,
Oh, you can, I actually believe that's turned off for
so
students.
students have that turned off. I wasn't sure if you wanted to reference that. We don't reference their Chromebooks at all, as far as like, because we're saying personal, whatever, but like their Chromebooks are
yeah.
communication devices.
So-
No, that tool I believe is turned off,
Yeah,
but yeah.
is that true? Go on your email.
So that was one
Considering
of,
the
It
workarounds
is
I've seen
turned
students
off.
have to do to communicate, I think so.
Yeah.
so that was one of my points further
Yeah.
down, like,
And we can get there when we get there.
yeah.
I didn't mean to rush us, but that's something that I can't get out of my head.
I also had a question, like, does this policy also extend to like pep rallies, which like aren't inside the school building but are also during school hours?
Well,
Yeah.
because they're outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love a good literal student. I think it needs to say both, right? It needs to say, like,
On school grounds.
School ground.
during school hours and on,
Time on school grounds and during school hours.
if you just say during school hours, doesn't that cover outside?
I mean, I think it does.
School
Well, it depends
grounds?
on your and. Do you mean school hours and on school grounds, or if I'm homesick, can I use it? Just kidding.
I mean,
Time
there's
on school
school
grounds.
grounds and during school hours, so yeah, you cover them both.
Yeah, but I do think, like, what if you are on a field trip, or you are, like, what is the rules for field trips?
Yeah, so technically, a field trip is a school, like, the school is essentially where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like so everything that would apply in North Kingstown High School would apply on the field trip, technically. The expectations we'd have around student conduct, the
But the
expectations we
same
have.
thing happens on the bus for student conduct, except for this.
The same thing happens on the bus for
Yeah,
student
like,
conduct.
students are held to the student conduct policy
Yeah,
on the bus.
there are, but there are different rules that would apply on buses versus, and it's not exactly there's,
I think the
What?
policy, I think the conduct, I think bus is school, and
Yeah,
the way that our
we-
stuff is written.
we-
So just something to think about, just be for consistency.
So, is the expectation that when they're going on a field trip that they won't use their phones? Because I think we need to specify that, because there's a difference between going on the bus in the morning, which has not started the school day.
But I
yeah,
think we're in the
see,
weeds.
this, I think so too, and this is
Yeah,
where I
we-
think as a group, we said that we are going to, the better route, in my opinion, is to have some language drawn up at the school level. I understand like that we wanna be clear here, but I also think that if we try to like be
What
too.
do the students think?
What do you think
You
they
said-
think?
No, I wanna know what though, not, I know they're pissed, I'd be pissed, but what was their main concerns, is what I'm curious about. As far as like
Consistency.
within this context, right, I'm trying
Consistency.
to understand,
Yeah,
Huh?
'cause
Consistency,
what do you mean?
just people being held to the same expectations.
Yeah,
Because if you don't define something like field trips, here's what's gonna happen. Principal A is going to say Y, Principal B is gonna say C, and somebody's gonna get in
just put
trouble
field
for,
trips in, the
for
intent is
having
no
one
phones ever.
or not, and
It's
they're gonna go to
account.
look at the policy, and it's not gonna be defined, and there isn't gonna be any way to say, yes, that's allowed, or not, that's allowed. Something as clear cut as a field trip needs to have.
That's gonna happen, I hate to say it, but that's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
There's gonna be this is gonna be a very I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. This is gonna be a very complicated and difficult thing for a school administrator to enforce, regardless of it.
Yep.
Because there's Mia, like, the kids have their phones all the time,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? They have them all the time, and there's going to be major challenge with this. And so we, in my opinion, we do have to provide a little bit of leeway in terms of adults in charge of schools being able to run their schools.
I gotta be honest with you, like, when I tell the kids to put the cell phones away, they put them away. This is not this is not really, I think, that much of a behavior challenge, you know what I mean? But on things like field trips, when we're visiting museums and the kids wanna take a picture of a piece of artwork and bring that back to the classroom, I am not gonna say no to that. Like, I think,
Right.
I'm not advocating
What
to
did
ban
that-
it,
what
I'm
did
just
that- yeah,
saying
what
we
did the
need to
teachers
say
say?
What
one
did
way or the
that,
other.
so I imagine that there's more that the students talked about than just consistency of enforcement, but also what did the administrators say about hallways and cafeteria and things like that as far as enforcement? Because that's an area I could also see some teachers or administrators being like, ah, it's just lunch, I don't care, and others saying like, no, they must not have them ever. Because I understand the class part,
So
like
they're-
that I can buy
they're-
into,
They
but
talked about that, they talked about, as administrators, that they're gonna have to make sure they're having conversations and being on the same page, and they talked about, well, what does enforcement mean? Enforcement can mean, it doesn't mean that like, oh, we're gonna rip all the cell phones out of the hands of every kid who's taking it out of the cafeteria. You know what I mean? It can mean just supervision, just oversight.
what does
you
that
know.
mean?
It means that when you're in a cafeteria and it's 2 adults and 500 kids, you do your best. You do your best to maintain an environment that is safe and supportive.
But we're choosing that choice. That's not the law, right? We're setting that rule, right?
We're setting the expectation, yes, that students have their
Yeah.
personal devices, not.
But it's likely not to be able to be enforced.
Andrew, you mentioned earlier the RIDE definition for school day. Does that include field trips in any way?
Didn't say, just said the instructional minute, that's why I asked the question, and I mean, you can pick at this
But
for days.
the law just is that we have to have a policy. They're not saying that we have to have them hidden away every minute of the day, correct? They're just saying we have to establish a policy for
Correct.
their usage. So if the district decided they could be out at lunchtime, they could be out at passing time, they could be out at field trips, that would be okay, because we've established a policy that while they're in the classroom, they're put away, correct?
It specifically says a prohibition on physical access to a personal electronic device by students during the school day, as defined by the Department of Education.
Which technically would be instructional time, which does not include lunch, correct?
I don't know if that's what that said. Is it-
Yeah, that's what, I'm just reading that first part, because that's the thing that's been kind of the driving thing, is we're trying to make sure that we follow that line of the dignity.
But that's what I'm asking
Well-
Andrew, right?
So what are you asking me?
I'm asking you if lunch is included in the instructional day.
No.
Right, so in theory, they could
But
have. their
what I'm
phones
hearing
at
Rob
lunch if that
say-
was the decision
So
that was
What I'm,
made.
yeah, what I'm hearing Rob say, that was the group that he worked
Yeah.
with, who is, he is solely
Yeah.
relaying the information
Yeah.
from, thought that it would be easier if it was just everywhere. That's what I'm hearing.
And I-
Generally, yes.
Yes.
And I will tell you, that's not unique, because when we get to the part we haven't even talked about physical access to, that's where I find that most school departments are struggling with, how do we keep kids from having physical access to the phone, but yet allow them to have it during lunch and allow them to
Yeah,
have
and
it
again,
during homeroom.
and there were some schools, we looked at a lot of different schools, there were some schools that went further than this. There were some schools that said nothing at any event school related, including athletic events, including anything school related, zero. Like even extracurricular stuff, we didn't go there, but.
Okay. Let's
Yeah.
get back to the stuff then, and so we'll note a question mark about field trips, all right? We don't need to land that plane this second, like, we're not finishing this today, so let's keep going, we've noted a question about that, and then you brought up a really good point about, like, outside pep rallies and like the boundaries of the policy, so we've got 2 points that I think we need to work through, so let's just keep going to get, because we wanna get more thoughts from others, so.
Yes, meta glasses have been brought up often.
Hmm?
I'm commenting on Jen's comment on meta glasses. That has been a thing.
So should we add that as one of the things? Because I see it in the newsletter, but I don't see it in the policy.
has been in there a couple times, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, maybe when you make you say like smartwatches, earbuds, tablets, you could sneak in meta glasses, et cetera.
So I guess my question and my comment on that is there a way that, because things are gonna emerge, like what we have now is gonna be different than what we have like 2 or 3 years from now, and if we're not revisiting this for a couple of years, like, is there a way to produce like as defined by something, and then we can have a list of,
I mean, I think that's what they tried to grab by this, any other electronic communication entertainment device, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
That's not school
because-
issue.
Because, yeah, and honestly, what we call them meta glasses now, but to be completely honest, the
just
mainstream
say
term that
smart
people want could
glasses.
be smart glasses.
Mhm.
But that, again, that may change. and that may technically not be what they are in a few years.
I mean, well,
So-
when I was in high school, the beepers would have been a problem. I'm just saying.
Ages.
Huh?
Ages.
Oh, it was great, they
That was
loved
the
it.
thing, yep, that was the thing.
So yeah,
Um,
unfortunately,
I'll-
that other line has
yeah.
to kind of carry a lot there, but it's
But-
because
but
the
I
stuff
would-
is too, it's too.
I would say though, that if this is something that is occurring at the high school right now, like, just write in smart glasses, right?
Yeah.
Because it's happening right now, the technology exists right now, the students have access to it right now, so why don't we just write it
I
in?
wrote
And
it
then
in.
just like my beeper, it'll be gone when it's gone and we'll have to update it. So,
But yeah, leaving the any other though, at least.
yeah, I think you
catches
leave the
our
any other,
feet,
but I
yeah.
do think if there's things to list, why not list them? We've done that in like some, like vaping policies and things like that too, like that'll evolve as well. Okay, where are we?
That's a good point about the headphones, you're right, at the elementary school level, parents
They
buy
buy
them.
them.
Yeah.
And then in middle school, I think they buy them too, and they carry them around or have them, or they have earbuds that they carry in their pencil cases because the headphones are too big. Some teachers let them use earbuds, other ones say, no, you have to use headphones, but they're a personal item, but according to this, they'd be banned, but you might.
They're for school.
But they're
right,
actually
yes,
for schools.
that's a good
I
point.
understand the intent is that the earbuds are not supposed to be for having in your ears and listening during class or whatever.
Right, right.
So it makes sense to not have recreational use of earbuds.
Yeah,
I
but the
don't
way
know,
that's
but-
written, it would technically, yeah,
I don't think elementary schools use earbuds, but still.
yeah.
My kids use earbuds.
They do, oh,
Yeah.
they let them, Some teachers won't let them. What do you think?
Nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, they definitely have some.
So maybe not school issued or being used for school,
Where are we right now?
So, cause it says school issued, but like we have to buy the headphones for our kids to use for school. Like it's something that parents have to buy for their children.
Right, so is this for?
At elementary
under
level.
policy statement,
Oh, and
Right above
the
elementary.
earbuds, okay.
It's the part, cause it says like non-school issued, but like the counterpoint of that is the headphones are not school issued, but they're school requested, and so maybe,
So we do have, okay,
Oh,
I know how we could fix that, we could buy the supplies.
the thing Caroline's gonna be pink and she'd be mad at you.
earbuds for non-school related purpose,
Sure.
Yeah,
how about that?
Actually, that'd be great. That'd be great for us at the high school, that would be
Yeah.
awesome, because we do use them as a tool, so that would be awesome.
Why are you just calling out earbuds and not headphones? So like
Maybe-
my Apple whatevers are cool, but my earbuds are not?
I was gonna say, I wonder if maybe we
Aren't
change
they-
that,
aren't
for-
Apple
instead of the
things,
non-school
whatever,
related purpose,
earbuds?
append that near the end.
No, the
instead
ones
of-
that go over
to include all the
like
items before it.
Okay, so ear listening
By Dre.
headphone?
Yes,
What's that?
Skull candy.
yes,
I'm so
earbuds
cool.
slash headphones?
I
Earbuds
also
slash
have a beeper,
headphones.
so.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm just wondering, like, is the law itself like extending to personal devices, or is it just cell phones that the laws?
No, it's
Pers-
personal devices.
Personal electronic devices is what it says,
It's
yeah.
a very good question.
Yeah.
Tell us more about why you asked.
Well, I'm just wondering because, like, from what I've heard, like, it was just cell phones, but now it's like switched to more of a all-around personal devices.
It appears cell phones were the motivator behind the law, but it's all personal electronic devices is where they ended up landing.
So I mean, I have the statute pulled up here. It says personal electronic devices,
Mhm.
not cell.
Yes, it's known as the cell phone policy, but
Yeah.
Right.
essentially Chaz is right, they don't even really define that, they just say,
That's annoying, right? I can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there like a personal electronic device that you're thinking about right now
Well,
that,
no, I was just thinking for earbuds in general.
earbuds, okay.
Okay, so let's keep rolling.
So Jen, yours here, it says, for the purpose of this section, a personal electronic device is a smartphone, mobile phone, tablet, computer, smartwatch, or other electronic device. Where's that from?
That's from the statute.
Were you just saying to add that little thing before it?
I'm trying to.
Like you, it looks like you just wanna add for the purpose of this section. Or some, like, what?
Oh,
Yes.
to define personal
Yeah.
electronic device?
Yeah, do you want me to like
Yes.
replace that with the actual statute language from what we had?
It was this morning, Jen. Oh, no, it was in January, excuse me. You can, that makes much more sense.
Yes, I think so. Or not. That was January, Jen.
All right, we'll
Okay.
come back to it. The piece about elementary, middle, does this mean that students can't have their watch or phone in a school bag? May not be in possession of any personal electronic device at any point during the school day. Is in possession in your school bag, I guess is the question here.
So again, part of the wording in the
Statute,
The
is
law is
physical access
a
to.
prohibition on
Yeah.
physical access to, yeah.
I read that as no, don't even send it to school.
So if you recall, I think I told you guys I had written a request to
Yep.
ride, asking them that very question. They were very kind to give us a response that just simply recited the statute,
Yes.
which said you can't have physical. It was incredibly helpful, insightful.
Yeah.
Um,
just-
absolutely
So-
no guidance whatsoever.
So in vagueness, I, as a mom who lives in America in 2026, where scary bad things happen
Yep.
at school,
Yep.
and also as a mom who has a 5th grader who like is old enough to get off the bus by himself, but like not old enough, like, you know, like is in that gray area, I would like him to have something, like his watch in his bag. So if he needed to call me, he could in an emergency or in a situation where he was nervous. If we have any vagueness, I would like to go with that they can be in the bags. I'm fine telling my kid, you cannot take it out of your bag. If you take that out of the bag, you're in so much trouble. But like, it's just like this, it's like,
I will tell
it's
you that
2026, you know, it's not cool right now.
the overarching informal opinion that I've heard is exactly that. I mean, schools, not everyone can afford those, the yonder pouches or something, I mean, they're,
Oh,
that some
Yonder
districts are
pouches.
doing that where you pouch them in the
That's
bag.
stupid.
And that's,
Yeah.
well, but, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's clean though, stupid, but at least it's clean, it goes into the pouch, you get it back at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there are no questions.
Yeah.
But with everything else, I think most are saying, I mean, teachers don't wanna collect them at every
Yeah.
class, that's not fair to the teachers.
But I'm saying the opposite too, like, don't even bring them to school. And I'm saying like, as a mom, like, I want my kid to have his
Yeah,
thing.
no,
100%, I hear you,
Yeah.
and I think that's really, like, honestly, Aaron, I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is not going against what the spirit of this is.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying,
You know what I
let's go
mean?
with the
Like
vagueness.
this, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Because,
spirit is you don't want the kids out playing with it during class.
right, right, exactly. The
Yeah,
spirit
just
is
play with the
we don't want to
crumbs.
get in the way of instruction and
Exactly.
learning, you know what I mean? And what she's talking about is not that, so.
Yeah, so I don't think we should write anything in that goes beyond that, but the way that this is written, it says students may not be in possession of. So my opinion of possession is if William has a watch in his bag, it's, he is in possession of that watch. And so that is where
And
I
it's
think the
written
language.
differently for
Yeah, it's written
elementary
differently,
and
so-
high school.
Yeah.
So that also, like, if I was reading this, I would read it as, oh, they can't even bring it.
No, I read that as I could not send his watch
Yeah.
to school.
High
So
school,
if that
they
is
can
not
have
our
it
intent, we should
because
tweak
they're
it.
deliberately written differently.
Yeah.
I think one point just to add on too, like at the higher middle school levels, like a lot of the students are involved in extracurricular activities, so in terms of like pickups and
Remind-
drop-offs and
yeah,
everything
and
like
the
that,
elementary
like that
school
is, that's a huge, huge issue, so if my son can't have a device to contact me at school, if something happens with practice or he gets hurt or something else happens, then I think that that's problematic as well, so.
At the elementary school too. Like they have play practice after school and chess practice and all sorts of whatever that we don't transport kids home from.
Okay, so
Would
how,
We just have to
how can
change
we
the
come up
word.
with this
Would you
word?
be open
Yeah,
to changing the wording? Okay.
yeah, like how do we want
Yeah,
to change?
alright, hold
What
on.
if we
Okay.
talk about access, so students may not be able to access
Okay.
their phone during the
Or
school
should not
day,
access.
or cannot, or access for use or something, because currently in Davisville, they have them lock them in their lockers, so
Mhm.
any smartwatch phone has to get locked in the locker so they can't access
Mm.
it, so if we use the word access somehow, or.
students,
I see.
I hate this one so much.
I know you.
I'm big on I'm big
I
on
agree.
student respect and like
I agree.
treating students the way, like I'm big on like, hey, put your phones away, and then they put their phones away, and then you teach them. I know we have to do this one, but I am not going to
My other
be
idea
able to
was,
zen with
Kicking
it.
and screaming.
Yeah, I
No,
get
like
it.
it's just, to me, it's so disrespectful to students, like, but,
For what it's
Actually,
worth, I
because-
can definitely confirm during the conversations at all these meetings, this has been a constant back and forth of trying to abide by the law and
Yeah,
have something
it
that
is.
actually.
It's
I'm
been-
not sure
enforceable
admin and
is
teachers like it much
brutal.
either, to be
No,
perfectly
it's really
honest
been
with you.
frustrating to do.
Yeah.
This was like brutal to write.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
Which
Alright,
was more
I will
fun,
help
this
you.
or grading?
Good question. Good question.
grading.
Yeah.
I
I don't know, it's like,
I'm gonna see if AI can help us, which we'll talk about during our AI policy next, but let's do that. Write this in a way that says they can have it but can't use it. Let's see if it can be smarter than me right now.
I think the high school one probably captures it.
It says students may bring personal devices to school, however, they may not access, use, or have them out at any time during the school day. Devices must remain stored and not in the student's possession from the start of the day to the end of the
It's
day.
right back to the possession piece.
Yeah, but you could get rid of that sentence. The first sentence is
where are we
better.
right now? I'm sorry.
I'm in ChatGPT, so
Oh,
hold on.
okay.
To be honest, I actually think that, I think that high school line's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think
in
it's
all
good.
seriousness, like,
And it
not
keeps
trying to knock
consistency.
open AI, but.
Because it doesn't really address the issue, and I think that's,
Kept out of sight, kept
I
out
was
of
gonna
whose
say,
sight?
I'm gonna play the,
Yeah, well, out of
like,
sight maybe.
kept out of sight is like, okay, it's
Yeah,
here.
no,
I just dropped in what,
We can maybe adjust the out of sight part,
But-
but yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point at the beginning, like, the schools, like, if we make it broad enough, then the school handbook or school policy could go deeper and say that out of sight means in your locker.
so just put away, right? Because I mean, I think
So
the general consensus is if it's in your backpack, if it's in your bag, if it's in your pocket, but you're not using it, you're focused.
here, so the
But-
language that the front was students may bring personal electronic devices to school, however, they may not access, use, or have them out at any time during the school day. Like, I don't think that
Yeah,
sentence
that's
is
not
That's
bad.
not bad.
Where's that
That's
from?
not bad.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Can you send that or?
I did, it's right there. I
Oh,
put it
it
in the
is?
comment. See it on the left there, or the right? Cause that one
Students
at
may
least
bring their
says
personal
like,
items. They may not access, use, or have them at any time during the school day. Okay.
Yeah.
it's at least clearer.
I think it's.
Do you want that to, do we want that to apply like universally at each grade level?
I think so.
I think cause like again, and this was just sort of the discussion that happened was that they did wanna kind of make a distinction between like the elementary, middle levels and the high school
What's
level
the
in terms of
difference?
language. Just the age of the kids and I think the more, again, we're just, I
I
know.
know. I'm trying really hard. I know it's not you.
I know, it isn't. It was more or less like, part of it was, again, just like routine practice and like what's been done. Part of it also was just the age and maturity of the kids and taking that into account. I can say, as a middle school parent, that middle school kids having access to cell phones at school is not a thing I'm very much in favor of. I'm just gonna say that, you know what I mean? Now, exceptions always apply. But generally speaking, I think that in learning in the mind of a middle schooler is gonna really become a problem.
Does that statement allow the discretion at each level for them to implement the not have access to in a different way?
Erin's statement?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that works. I do, because I think that's true right now, generally.
Right. I mean, it sounds like it is, right? At Davisville, they're locked in a locker.
Yep.
At the high school, they're wherever, right?
Yep.
So that is currently happening.
in elementary school, though, they don't have a place to store it. Say, like in Davisville, they have lockers, or middle
Correct.
schools have lockers. Elementary school students, it's the third grader who's got a phone that brings it to school, even though the parents told them not to, and then it's lost, and then we're like, oh.
True.
Like, I don't know, like, how to reconcile, you have K through 5. Your fifth grader is way more mature than the second grader, but there are still little kids with phones that. Except my second grader's also very mature. And then your second grader might be totally mature and
Very
able to
scary.
handle it, but mine
Yeah.
would just chuck it in the desk and I'd
Yeah.
be like, great, there goes that phone, or the phone gets
Yeah.
stolen. So the younger kids, there's impulsivity. Perhaps elementary schools need a handbook place for this.
Or it
I
stays
don't
in the
know.
backpack, right? Or, you know.
Backpack.
Yeah.
They'll
They
stay
in the
there, they have
backpack
bags,
in
they have
elementary
Yeah,
school.
Yeah.
Oh,
backpack.
Whereas like the middle schoolers can't carry their bags around, right?
No, they can't.
Yeah, so that's where like,
Yeah.
to me, like if you're bringing your bag, the high school doesn't carry bags
Elementary
anymore,
is,
right?
I
they
know
have
they do.
cubbies,
Yeah.
They do.
Okay.
you know, they have cubbies usually.
I think they just kind of, I mean,
Yeah,
don't things get
they
very
could put it in their
lost.
bag though.
They could. I mean,
And that's
I'm not
what I would
saying
tell
it's
us,
my
my
kid,
kid.
I mean, my kid's not getting
I actually think this language, to me, I like this language, because I think it allows for, it sets an expectation, but allows for some, like, reasonable application based on, you know, the setting, the circumstances. I think it works. To me, a backpack would work there. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I think it leaves it open to,
If mom wants to send a student with a device to put in his bag, her bag, there it is. It's
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
but
I
it's
think I
not
said this.
But you
out,
can't
it's
take
not
it out.
correct.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's worked in elementary in the past.
You all right over here?
I'm sorry, have we already
Sorry.
talked about
Sorry.
it? We must have, but I must, like, so how does that jive with the watches that are effectively cell phones on your wrist though?
Could you
Like,
consider that?
in the backpack?
They go in
Okay.
the I mean, in
Yeah.
the middle school, they
Yeah.
go in the locker and they're locked up.
So
They're not
basically
supposed
like
to
no
have it.
smartwatch.
But
Which-
sometimes they just do
I'm
this
not
and
arguing
teachers
with that.
just-
Well, I'm saying, the enforcement
there's
piece
no
is gonna
policy
be
right
tough
now.
regardless, I'm just saying.
There is supposed to be in the middle school, like there's.
Oh, I'm sorry, elementary school, there's no
Oh,
policy.
the elementary school, yeah. Some kids wear them, I think, but I don't think it's a problem. I've not heard that it's an issue.
My kid wore his gizmo.
We've had a few,
got in trouble.
you know, we've had a few things come up with elementary, and usually we're able to kind of find common ground, you know, with people.
Okay, so we have potential new language of how to say, like, yes, you can bring it, but you cannot have it. Where are we at? There's another sentence in that elementary school one. Are we good with that one?
Seen accessing their PED maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to change that.
Yeah, not in possession. Yeah.
Using?
Seeing,
Using or accessing.
accessing. A PED without permission.
Does the statute,
Yeah.
never mind, I can't do it. It's okay.
It's not your favorite, you could say. I understand.
Oh, no, I will go viciously on record, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, we had a lot of discipline, we were talking about discipline yesterday, and, that's a different conversation for a different day, on like what the discipline will be,
Mm-hmm.
and how to apply it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So high school, anything we wanna change there? It's the same thing.
So Jason
now.
wrote, point of contact with the attendance to limit distraction, how the school issue computers being monitored. If students can access social media on their Chromebooks, how is this different than phones? Would Chromebooks be governed by the acceptable use policy?
So I don't think it really fits in the language there. I was just trying to figure out where to hang it, and I think it hit on what Erin had said earlier.
Mhm.
And I guess I brought this up because I don't know, in terms of policy, if we want, because I'm pretty sure when we did the acceptable use, like there's a list of things you can and can't do on the school network. Like, I don't know if it's worth tying that into this, in terms of, like, at the end of the day, like, if my kids go on their Chromebook and there's no guardrails of what they can access in terms of social media, and to the point about being able to use Google to chat or use WhatsApp or any other app to be able to chat, then all we've done is we've switched from cell phones, smartphones to the school Chromebook.
That they can have in front of them
That they can have in
without
front of
having,
them.
without it being looking like a phone.
And I know the intent, like I 100% on board, like if the intent is to get rid of the distractions. I'm just wondering if there's something that needs to be added to reference, like, oh, by the way, like if your workaround, and this is not the language, but just, you know, my brain thinking, but if your workaround is that you're going to do all this stuff just using your Chromebooks, you fall under these guidelines, and just as a reminder. So I don't know if that's worth saying here, or if we already have a policy and students and parents should know it, and I can't remember how in-depth that policy went in use of, because I know we went back and forth and we had people come in talking about middle school and elementary school kids being able to access certain things. Like, I see that as a big problem.
Yeah, they
like,
can pull up,
it would
they
just-
can pull up Instagram and then DM each other on Instagram, they can pull up Snapchat and send snaps to each other or whatever they wanna do on their computers all day long.
This does become the obviously infinite conversation of, do we take away the tool, or do we teach them correctly on how to use the tool? In this particular case, with this policy, that one's kind of forced our hand, but on the other policies, like the acceptably or responsible use policies, we do get to decide that to some degree. Cause I feel like the problem there is unfortunately it's a kind of, some of it's philosophical of like, yes, what is the difference between a cell phone and a Chromebook? And like, absolutely, realistically and fundamentally, performance, that's about it. The major difference though that we do have, at least with the Chromebooks, is we do manage them and have guardrails that we can ensure. On a cell phone, we don't. So from a district level, that is where we can still lean on the responsible use policy for sure to cover that. But to your first end, there really is not much of a difference, honestly. But personally, I don't know if we need to necessarily put something in here about responsible use, because it is kind of already caught. It basically, the responsible use is basically if you're using any of our equipment anyway, by default, you're kind of,
I think
you're brought in on that.
I think you're missing the direction a little bit.
Okay, sure.
I hear what you're saying. What I'm saying, I think what you're saying and what I am very concerned about is, and again, the goal of the purpose of this policy is to reduce distractions, maintain a learning focused environment, and optimize instructional time, and protect privacy and safety of students. When they have their Chromebooks and they have access to Google, they can open up a Google Doc and share a Google Doc with their friend, and they can chat for hours at school. They can go onto Instagram, because we don't block Instagram, and they can DM their friends. So like the goal, and I think the purpose of this like the state law was so that they couldn't be communicating with each other throughout the school day, but we give them a device where they're going to be able to communicate back and forth throughout the school day. And so if we're not banning things like that, or we're not explicitly saying you can't use your Chromebooks to talk to your friends, then they're going to do that, and they're not out of compliance with anything.
That will also, so that will make, kind of put an incumbents on us to ensure the teachers are utilizing things like GoGuardian better to be able to lock down that communication.
They're not going to
while
lock
they're in
down
class.
Google.
No, but you can lock it down to like, you can put like filters out, so like during my class, I don't want you using Instagram. They can apply a different set of filtering rules in addition to ours, and those teachers have the ability to even share those filters with each other, so someone doesn't have to recreate it from scratch. That'll be honestly incumbent on us to make sure people know they have access to those resources more and how to utilize them better, because absolutely that will be, I think I see where you're going now. Yeah, the shift would just be, instead of from my cell phone to my Chromebook, we'll have to make sure the teachers know how to use GoGuardian to do that.
And have those conversations taken place?
They have been
Yeah.
pretty regularly. Like, we send that information out. This is just gonna have to be, we're gonna have to call larger attention to it than we typically would
Yeah,
have,
and like I know,
because-
Mia, you've talked about using them in your classes, but like that
Can't block
recognition that
Google.
it's gonna be shifting, and how are we going to adapt to that, and how are we going to like minimize the distractions moving from here to here?
Yeah, we
know
have,
how much
yeah,
of
it's definitely, I can say from even the teachers who's brought it to me in conversations I have with people, everyone knows.
Okay.
It's definitely not blind. We're just, people
Yeah,
have been asking
unless-
for GoGuardian help, and I've been helping people,
Here's the
like
thing,
the department more than
unless
ever.
you take away electronic devices, period,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is, they're smarter than us.
Oh, I
So, we can do all we want, but, so if we leave it, I'm advocating for that we trust students and we teach them and it's fine. But I don't wanna go that far above the statute. I feel like we should stick very closely to statute and then let the teachers manage their classrooms as they see fit. I know that they're gonna do it. That's the first thing I would do if I didn't have my phone, is I'd be texting somebody with my computer. But I feel like for the purposes of this, like, let's stick with what we have to, and then let the building management manage it as they need, even though it's silly.
Okay.
You know,
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's a challenging thing, no doubt about it. You know what I mean?
it's just fake.
What's that?
It's just fake if they have their computers still.
It is. I do think a cell phone and a computer are different. I do. I think they're different. I think kids are a little more comfortable using their phones for the things that is. But I hear you. The Chromebooks are still definitely a distraction. I hear this from teachers all the time.
Yeah.
That kids are using their Chromebooks for not the right reasons all the time. 100%.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
Here we are.
it is, and it's like, we're never gonna get this perfect. You
No,
know?
yeah. Okay, so we are at exceptions, correct?
Yes.
So
Yep.
students with approved plans.
My comment here was that it says in the statute that students who are provided an exception shall not be segregated from the other students, and I'd like that added.
Yes, absolutely.
I can cut and paste that right
Oh,
out of the
thank you.
statute.
Okay. Everything else under there okay?
Yes. Can you just clarify what the teachers may not make PED access necessary in order for students to complete required assignments? Like, I think I understand that.
So
but
what
can
we're
you
trying to
just-
say there is that, like, if we're telling students that we're not, that we're not supposed to be using these in school, but a teacher's applying an exception to that and allowing it for some reason, they're not saying like they're not making the completion of what they're doing contingent upon the use of it. Does that
Okay.
make sense? So like,
No, that makes sense. If I am doing a still life in class and I have all the materials spread out and I say, okay guys, in order to do this correctly and get a good grade, you need to take out your cell phone and take a picture of the still life, that would be.
right,
Yeah,
Requiring.
we
like
shouldn't
there has to
doing-
be, like you may do it,
Right, you may do it, or I have
But
a series of
you'll have
iPads you
something
can
else.
use if you don't wanna use your cell phone,
Mhm.
yeah, that's fine.
Can I just make a comment? I think when I read through this, I saw field trips as following under exceptions, and I think we're covered, from my perspective, in terms of field trips in the professional discretion. For example, if students wanna take pictures at a museum, have QR codes on a tour, historical tour or something like that,
yes.
or are breaking into
I would
smaller
agree.
groups, thinking of like seniors or something on
Mhm.
an educational trip.
I would agree.
That's just my
Yep.
2 cents.
So that could be a good place to put that, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Consequences/interventions.
Is this dictated by the statute?
No, that's all.
Nope, this came from the group, so feel free to.
No, I was just curious, like,
Mhm.
I need to look at the statute.
I appreciate that it says between schools that serve students in the grade levels. I think that's important.
I agree.
What's an example of a restorative practice as a consequence?
So restorative practice is more of a proactive step than reactive. Restorative practice aims to like just sort of establish a culture within an environment, like within a classroom, for example. It's a set of expectations, norms, just sort of like values that we have and about how we respect one another and how we are respectful of each other's
So like,
individuality.
so for the cell phone, if you got caught with your cell phone, you might have a reflective conversation with your teacher about why you had your cell phone out, who was impacted, how it affected your learning, or like if you had to do like reflective writing about like why having your phone out and utilizing it is distracting to your learning, like it's that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Versus you,
Versus detention.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm confused though about, and maybe, is about the like sentence about, like it's outlined in the student handbook, but then like we're outlining stuff. And so like what would be in the handbook that would be different than what we have?
Yeah, it's a
In
good
this.
question. So, I would say, and again, I would say that what would be outlined in the handbook would be, for instance, like progressive steps. So first offense, what's the consequence? Second offense, what's the consequence? Third offense, what's the consequence? Things of that nature, you know what I mean? More specificity there. When it comes to me, that would belong in more of a handbook than a policy. I would say something like that really would just be like more, or more specific, even to you may have, they may break it down by like circumstances, where like a classroom violation versus a hallway violation might be different. Something along those lines. that would be more of a building-based,
Mhm.
you know. We did want to include, however, and I think that last bullet is important, is under no circumstances will a student ever be suspended for violating this policy.
It says suspended out of school.
Out of school, yeah.
Is that to say that somebody could be suspended in school?
Yes, I'm sure that word is intentional.
Well, that's why I'm making sure, like,
Yeah.
is that, so,
Yeah,
okay.
Do we have the part about MLL learners in this policy? Cause the
It's
stat-
for exceptions, it talked about
it did
ML.
say it
Yep.
under exceptions, okay. Cause the thing is,
Does it?
no, it doesn't say
No, it
MLL.
doesn't
I
say
thought it was,
MLL.
I thought I saw MLL
I didn't-
somewhere in here.
I thought it was, because we definitely had MLL.
cause the statute says 504 IEP, medical needs
Oh,
such as
maybe not.
glucose monitoring and/or a plan to support emergent MLL students with the
Yeah,
appropriate
let me add that.
language access programs and services to ensure,
Okay,
and it keeps
put it
going.
in.
Do you mind just putting
Yeah.
it?
Maybe we should pull
We missed
that
that,
I
right?
read that in this, not the other one.
It's in the actual law, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think like if we're saying IEP, we should just say MLL, like I don't, like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but we have to be specific about it because it's not just that any multi-language learner can have their cell phone out. It's very specifically for the purposes of
Mhm.
whatever it
Yeah,
is.
do you mind,
Yeah,
Andrew's
I'm
gonna
gonna,
add
I'm
that
gonna,
straight
I'm gonna
forward,
put
yeah.
this whole thing right in. Excuse me.
All right, any other thoughts or suggestions under consequences, interventions, or? If we go to school staff, this is where, I know Jen, you mentioned off the top like that being a point.
What do you think from a student perspective, if their teachers had their cell phones after, like, students are definitely like 100% not allowed to have their cell phones, like what the vibe would be from students? Would they get it, or would they be like, that's not fair?
Well, like, I feel like it would depend on what the teacher's using it for, because
Yeah.
like, if they're using it for entertainment, like, I'll probably do that, but like, if they're using it for like helping us to learn, I feel like that'd be perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Jen, did you drop in that yellow stuff?
yeah, I dropped in at the bottom, because missing from this is also what's noted in the statute that,
Oh, searching the.
searching the
Yep.
phone, I think that's important that that's in there somewhere.
Mhm.
I don't know where to put it, but I think we need to note that.
Maybe even just under school staff expectations,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to be honest.
and then just some things that were in one of the Connecticut policies that I just wanted to put out there for consideration. And I don't know whether it's policy language, handbook language, or,
We have absolutely no, sort of looking for.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's the word. You can't tell people what they can and can't do outside of school. You can't, like, we have no jurisdiction of whether or not a parent can text their kid. We can politely ask
Yeah.
that they don't do it, but in no way can you, like, I think you have to be really, this language is interesting.
I took issue to the students and parent, bottom of the first paragraph. Students and parents and guardians should be aware that the district is not liable, so as a parent, if the policy in the school, which I think at the high school is that after your second violation, your phone is confiscated, like, my son's phone was confiscated and then it was damaged, lost, or something happened to it, like, I feel as a parent, that's an issue
You're allowed to just say
to
you're
like,
not liable
yeah,
about
to,
this.
to be like, we're not liable, but we're confiscating the
That's
phone,
the
or we're
issue.
taking
You're
it.
talking about from the Connecticut one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and again, that's what you hear when they talk to you about, other than the yonder pouches, that's why teachers and admin don't wanna take the phone for just that reason. It's $1,000 piece of equipment, you lose it, it breaks, someone drops it, I suspect you're gonna be liable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, I was surprised reading some of the other policies, how most of the other policies we read were pretty, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I think are successful, and I'm not gonna define that term, but the ones that can afford the yonder pouches and get them and put them in the pouch at the beginning of the day and give them back to the student at the end of the day are as black and white as you can probably get in this particular realm. It doesn't address
But I
the
have
concerns
not- I
about
have-
communication and everything, but it's, from a lawyer loves it. You get the phone, it's locked up, we give it back to you at the end of the day, we're done.
I have, from an administrator standpoint, I've heard that they're not good.
Yeah,
They're-
well, there's
they're-
burner phones and there's all kinds
Yeah,
of.
oh, yeah, no, I've heard, I've heard it working like in maybe one or two cases at the middle school level, high school level. I haven't heard one, very expensive and not effective.
Not worth the money.
No.
Interesting.
For what it's worth, I've not, separate conversations from Ms. President, I've also heard very similar things from other tech directors in the area as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Kids
that
bring old
explored it,
phones,
or
put them in
anyone
there that they don't
specifically-
use.
I've heard that.
Of course they
So-
do.
The old Nokia flip.
Right,
There you
right,
go, keep
Right,
it.
yeah,
Massachusetts is piloting that program right now that has like those little brick type things in the beginning of their door for advisory, so when the kids check in the morning, they hold it up to the brick, and what that does is
Yeah.
actually logs them in for the school day. So they know that they're there if they're, and it shuts down the whole phone.
Is that legal in terms of school surveys, like
Yeah.
surveillance?
Yeah,
Is that
Yeah.
legal?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
anyone in the high school
It's-
uses their phone, cause
No,
every
it's
time
like
I'm in that
tracking.
building,
It's-
my phone is
Like,
toast.
I'm not a lawyer.
it's complicated.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
from what
it's
I've been reading,
complicated.
because the first thing I
Um,
thought of was, I don't know if we should be doing that.
So some of the, I was just Googling like quickly some other policies and some other things of like, what else could you consider for a policy like this, et cetera, and it does, a couple of them mention like the concept of confiscating, and so I don't know if in our policy we wanna outline that concept. I'm not saying we should be confiscating, I'm just saying like, I feel like the instinct, like when we're talking about discipline and we're talking about different things, like I feel like we need to give some sort of guidance to our teachers, administrators, and also expectation to our students that like, no, we're not confiscating, or like, like there's something, like when thinking about the damage and stuff, like I feel like we need to address that in some way,
so.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, so one thing where I think would be a good, something good to reference, I know the high school has been like piloting this year, like without this policy being in place, they've been piloting, reining in some of the, putting some framework language around cell phone
I mean,
use.
Pilot exists, I mean, it says very blatantly in every correspondence, cell phones are not allowed.
Yeah,
So
right, but it's like the first time that's been.
enacting, if you will.
Right, okay, so, but we can get some feedback from that maybe, and we can get some like, I don't know, some information from them around what they're doing and what the parameters that they've set have been and how effective it's been.
What did the students also say, like what else were their concerns or questions in your meeting when you all wrote this? So consistency
They
of
just did,
enforcement.
they, again, it was a lot of it was consistency, a lot of it was, they talked about teacher use.
Yeah,
They did, they talked about teacher use, and why is it that, why, if we can't use them, why can't they, why can they use them? They just talked, they just felt it was unnecessary, they felt like it was like one of those things where, for the most part, the kids don't use them, or if they do use them, it's like sporadically, where it's not getting in the way of what they're trying to do, they felt it was overreach. And they felt that it was like one of those things where like they're making it a bigger deal than it is what their general feeling was. That they're like, you know what, if it's something where you have teachers, if kids are using them and they're not supposed to use them, the teacher addresses it and it's like, problem solved, and they're like, that's how it happens, and you don't need a whole policy around it, was their general feeling.
What was the parent feedback?
It was interesting, the parents were kind of more, they felt the same way. They felt like what we have now works. That's how they felt, and that's how the students felt too. you know? And the students also saw, because we talked about how at the high school level, how the new rules were kind of coming into play this year, and the students saw, they're like, yeah, the new rules are in place, we know we shouldn't use them, but like, kids are still using them, and they're still getting away with it. And they're right, because there's a lot of use, and it's something that is like, it's normal. And generally speaking, it doesn't necessarily affect anything, right? I mean, I don't know if that's.
Meaning like the usage
You don't have
isn't
a problem
affecting
to solve, it's
anything?
hard
Yeah,
to
like
solve.
the idea behind this, I guess, and right, the idea behind this was that there was this, cell phone use that was
Yeah, it's destroying.
blocking students' ability to like connect with one another, and it was leading to, more disconnect with school. It was affecting learning, it was affecting these things, and just the feedback we got from people was that they just felt it was overblown, it wasn't really the case.
I mean, truth be told, we have terrible Wi-Fi in the high
I
school.
was gonna say.
100%.
So like, kids never had their cell phones out to begin with,
Right.
because they didn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So like, you combine that with like
It's not even
now-
Wi-Fi, it's cell service. That
It's
building has
cell
no
service.
cell service.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
sorry.
The
sorry.
Wi-Fi next door.
Hold on.
The Wi-Fi is fine, if you're able to log into it.
Yeah, they were trying to get our Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what
I'm aware of that,
But,
yeah.
but, it became, what happened is when we came out with this law as a state, now all of a sudden the cell phone became this illicit drug that everybody wants to try.
Right.
This was not an issue a year ago. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it really wasn't.
What was the teacher feedback, like in terms of
I mean, we're really uncomfortable taking kids' phones for the obvious reasons mentioned. I've had to confiscate a few phones. Most of the time, like Erin said, I just tell the kids, guys, phones away, and they go.
Mm.
They go away. I mean, I really don't, the few phones I've had to take are just kids that constantly just, I don't even know what they're doing with them, frankly, because what do you, what do you even do? You have no cell service. So I really don't know what they're doing with them, it's.
Chaz has single-handedly solved the problem without even needing to.
One thing I did mention at the beginning of the policy was we reference, it says, extensive research tying the excessive use. And so anytime that I feel like I write the word research somewhere, I feel like you have to cite the research. So I would like to know what extensive research is pointing to our philosophy of why we shouldn't have phones. Or we should delete it.
We can delete it.
Like, we could literally just say, no, I'm not joking, like, and I'm here for the research, you know that I love research, and I love data. If there is a research article that proves that we should not have students having their PPEs that we feel is good, then let's put it in. If we are only doing, the philosophy is we are doing this because we are wanting to be in compliance with the law, let's just call it what it is.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
That's
But
fine.
if, honestly though, and very, very respectfully, and I know, like, I'm balking at it, but I also understand, I don't want kids on their phones all day not listening to teachers either. I just think it's the teacher's responsibility to be engaging so that the students aren't on their phone. Like,
I agree
that's how
I
I
agree with you.
teach. Like,
Yep.
my students aren't
Yep.
on their phone because we're doing stuff.
Yep.
And so, I just feel like we should just call it what it is. Like,
I would then-
I have not seen the extensive research on how banning phones equals student success. I think that any research that comes out of that, they're stating like test scores that could have 900 other reasons why they increased or didn't increase. So, I don't know. I'd take it out.
I would take it out. I'm fine with taking it out. I don't like, I think that they're, again, I don't wanna like speculate too much, but I think people are looking for some type of, under philosophy,
Yeah.
like some type of.
And if we've got,
Because we have to.
if we
Right.
have some extensive research,
Right,
let's
like
go.
we're, like, I think they were trying to find some way to provide something under philosophy that provided a reason. But we don't have to, we can put I mean, that's why the statute the statute I believe definitely belongs in the purpose.
My
Philosophy is.
My philosophy on this would be, like, North Kingstown School Department, like, we want students engaged in learning. Like, right, that's the philosophy, like, I want students and teachers engaged in learning in the classroom.
Mhm.
Like, whether cell phones prevent that or not is one thing, but like, that is part of, like, that I could buy into, right? Like, our philosophy is that we want our students engaged in learning. Like,
Okay,
so we could go, I would be fine with that, but that would probably be worse.
how does the group feel? Any comment there?
I think that's a good
I agree.
point.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm fine with it. All right, so we want students engaged in learning.
I think I said, no, hold on, I'll write it for you.
You can write it. personally, I like the simplicity of it, and I agree with it.
So Rob, what are your thoughts on this? Do you wanna like tweak it and come back? Where are you leaning with this?
Well, I appreciate everyone's input. I think generally speaking, we're all on the same page. We can add we can tweak some things here. We've made some changes as it is. But I think we can maybe make some changes and then bring it.
If
Bring
you
it
think
up.
you're okay to go forward or bring it back, which way do you wanna go? How do people feel? Like,
The biggest discrepancy that I noted just seems to be, are we talking about the academic time, or I heard Erin say limited to the statute, which is pretty clear, just the academic time, or, I think Rob's group kinda came out with, we want it for the whole school day, it's easier to administer, or better. I mean, that to me is sort of like the biggest,
and field trips, I don't think we
discrepancy.
landed on
Mhm.
field trips.
Yep.
So I put a comment and I put the link and I quoted the statute. I don't read the statute as excluding recess, lunch, et cetera, from the school day. I think it's saying the school day is a minimum of 5.5 hours, excluding recess, lunch, whatever. And if you read the whole, it starts with the school day is the regular operations of a public school, and clearly those things are. So I don't think, it's just my interpretation. When I read the statute, I don't think it's exempting those things from the definition of school day.
Ryan has said that they
The statute is,
exempted.
the ride is who, they
Yeah.
all.
Ryan did in the
It was a
advisory opinion.
follow-up,
it was
Okay.
nice
there was an
to note that.
advisory
But-
opinion, yeah.
Okay, so where do I find that?
Andrew, could you send that to
Is
Jen
it-
to
Yeah,
send
I can,
everybody?
Are those like posted somewhere? So
I mean, I'm
Where
sure
do I-
somewhere in the depths of the Rhode Island.
The depths of the
But
earth,
it
okay.
would be easier if Andrew just sent it to you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so actually in that link, is what Andrew mentioned earlier, so in that link that I think you provided on the top.
Oh, on the
there-
right?
Yeah, I
And the
think that
comment?
one's mine.
Oh, sorry, at the very top, whatever that was, in the definitions of there. I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the screen. The top comment on the Google Doc, the link to the statute on the bottom. In there, the definitions does show or talk about the actual schoolwork excluding lunch, recess periods, study halls, homeroom.
No, it lists this thing. I have the quote, like here's the
Yeah.
statutory quote, that's copy paste. So it says,
Yeah, like where's rides and
day or,
days on it?
yeah. Day or school day means regular operation of all public school grades, including kindergarten, of the education agency for the period that consists of not less than 5.5 hours of actual schoolwork. I think, and then excluding lunch, recess, whatever. I don't think that lunch, recess, study halls are being excluded from what is called the school day. I think they're pointing out that the 5.5 hours doesn't include the minutes for the school lunch, recess.
I
study
can
hall.
get you,
But
I
if
just have to
Ride-
find it.
Yeah,
I got
no,
the
if
Ride
there's a separate
advisory that
advisory
says,
opinion, then, yeah, I mean, I accept that. I'm just saying that we keep going back to this definition, I just don't read it that way. But if RIDE does, then there you go. And I didn't mean to stop the whole meeting for that.
No,
I
no,
will-
no, no.
No, it's okay.
I'm just reading the policy, or the 162143 again, just to see if there was anything else that we. I don't think that, do we have something about the school-sponsored activities?
School-sponsored activities, like that happened during the school day?
The law says each public school shall have a policy regarding the use of personal electronic devices on school grounds and during school-sponsored activities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't mention that in here, we
We
should.
don't.
Even if it's just to say, like, whatever you want on school, like,
North Kingstown defines school-sponsored activities as only things that happen during the school day. Like school-sponsored activities, a football game, school-sponsored activities,
Prom.
the prom,
Yeah.
school-sponsored
Yes.
activities,
well,
like,
we can say school-sponsored activities for the purposes of this policy means anything that happens after the school day hours, and our policy is that personal electric devices are allowed at those events.
Is that gonna come into conflict with other policies and how they define school-sponsored activities though?
If we say for the purposes of this policy,
it
Is it possible for you to slide it into exceptions?
You could, but I do always enjoy, for the purposes of this policy. Well, it's the same thing, for the purpose of this policy, school grounds is defined as X, because I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I do not ride the buses, but I don't think the intent of this policy is that they don't have it on the buses,
No,
right?
It's not.
Right.
So, but other policies,
count buses,
we
school
do
grounds,
include
yeah.
buses, so
Okay.
like, for the purpose of this policy, buses are not,
Okay.
like, whatever, like, so I think there's a couple ones on here that we're gonna have to use that sentence.
So we want to say, for the purpose of this policy, we want to define school-sponsored activities.
Yes.
So I'll send, this is a draft, I don't have the final, but that thus the law would not be applicable during lunch period and student access to cell phones during lunch, and it addresses that, yeah. It's beautifully written.
Can we,
It
can
just
we
cut
try
and
to
paste the statute and switches it around.
summarize all of that? Like, if we're gonna have multiple places, can we like set the scene of like, at the beginning, that for this policy,
Yeah, these are the
this is,
definitions, yep.
this is the box that we are painting in terms of school day and grounds and whatever else, so it's clear and it's one spot that we can go to versus having it written multiple times throughout.
We should also define school grounds to exclude, buses on this also.
Could we just put in parentheses excluding
Mhm.
buses? Like, where's that?
Did I make the private school students? Yeah?
Oh.
We don't care about those kids,
No.
just the other kids.
So Rob, maybe you should clean this up and bring it back at the next meeting, and we can go through it one more time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you wanna dive into the AI one? The showing on the AI one?
Oh, why not? All right, and I'll bring this up we'll bring this up at the next one. Thank you all for
No, and thank
your
you
help
all
on
for
this.
working
This
on it.
hasn't
We
been super
appreciate
fun.
It's a tricky one because it's good intent, right? Like, I get what they're saying, like, and I
Yeah.
get that law is trying to say, like, hey, like, kids need to be paying attention to school. But, like, the actuality of life in 2026 and students in 2026 and learning in 2026 doesn't align with that. So I'm not saying that it's not a good concept. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
yeah.
100%, yep. All right, AI. So, again, the other half of our group was the AI group. We kind of did both at the same time. We split into teams. So we had a cell phone team, we had an AI team. The AI team, I think, had a little more fun. I spent more of my time in the cell phone group, I'm not gonna lie, just because they needed a little, we wanted to kind of keep the conversation moving. I know Chaz took the lead on a lot of the AI stuff in here. So in this in this policy, I know we used a lot of different
Sorry, which one are we in?
AI policy
AI
draft.
policy.
Oh, the very top.
Yeah.
We tried to reference several different documents, one of them being RIDE's AI guidance. I know Chaz provided some resources as well, so did other members of the group. And for this, really, we tried to just sort of develop, I think, sort of set the playing field, if you will, for like the proper use of AI. We talked about how AI can certainly be used in an educational setting for ways that aren't effective and aren't consistent with what we want, but also they can be used as a really powerful learning assistance tool. And so we wanted to kind of define certain terms as they apply to AI. One of the challenges I think we saw with this is that obviously there's a constant, very fluid like advancements being made, and so staying on track with that is going to be challenging. But we wanted to define some terms, and then we wanted to provide some responsible use guidelines around, again, like just what do we envision AI being used for in a productive educational setting. And so I think we kind of define that. We talked about safety and privacy as well. Chaz, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, honestly, that we kind of used like the responsible use of technology those type of policies as kind of a benchmark here, because it's kind of, what I'm saying, it's more like we're trying to provide some just, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm thinking of the bowling alley where you got the little bumpers.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, like I'm just trying to keep people in a line of like, hey, like there's value here. with also providing quite honestly, the required flexibility that will be needed over the next 5 to 10 years to allow us to still leverage and explore the technology, to pull back away from it where it's not helpful, and not necessarily have to be stuck behind too overly specific policy language to where we're like bound by something that is potentially non-existent or genuinely challenging or damaging while we're trying to explore this, because it is so volatile right now, in a good and bad way. This is kind of the reality of it. So we tried to honestly leverage was a lot of the boundaries around AI use are somewhat already defined by policies that we do have in place. So we do lean on those and reference those in this case, in the handbooks, so like cheating or plagiarism, like those types of things. I mean, we don't need to necessarily redefine, and obviously we don't want you using any tool to cheat in any capacity. That's just not cool. So let's just acknowledge that that's the case. And then others we're trying to provide so if those are obviously off the table based on other policies, then if you're going to use it, how do we acknowledge that you're using it through whether it's types of AI disclosure, or how do we then allow the teachers the flexibility to both allow and not allow it on their own? Because one of the biggest things we got from a lot of the teachers is there's absolutely times we want to work this muscle, so to speak, in the classroom of like, let's explore this tool and figure out how we can utilize this in historical research or something. And there are other times where, I'm like specifically, we want to work just between you. I want to see your response, your thoughts, your opinions. No tool. So giving them the flexibility and guidelines. So we really tried to hold onto those going into this.
I'll add just one more thing, which is that this presented us a pretty unique challenge because there's very few policies on AI out there right now, and the ones that are out there are limited at best. I think one of the ones we looked at was Barrington's, which I know that they are working on updating, and that I know this from one of the people who's leading that is someone I'm a colleague with, and she was saying, she was like, we hate our policy, we hate the old one. So don't use it.
Yeah, we tell people not to judge us on ours sometimes too.
Yeah, so she was like, yeah, don't use ours. So we're updating it. They're working on getting it like refreshed and everything. So there wasn't much to go off of on this, and I think that presented a challenge too.
And the ones that are honestly, another thing is the ones that are out there, a lot of them are so hyper focused on punishment and discipline, and that's not. The group, we did not agree that should be the goal here. The goal should not be, aha, we got you using AI. It should be like, hey, this is a new tool, but it has, just like anything, the potential being as big as it is means the damage could be big, so we gotta be careful with that.
I think too, the biggest thought on this one for me is, I always think about policies as proactive and also reactive, and so then when there's a dispute between a student and a teacher about a grade, and that's where I get really nervous about AI and making sure that we're really clear about what's okay and what's not okay, because when it's left up to interpretation, a student might not think they're cheating, and then the teacher thinks they're cheating, and how does this policy help navigate that? And that's where I don't know if we quite got there, but that's what I keep coming back to, is that piece of it. I don't think we want to prevent teachers from using AI in creative and unique ways, but I get really worried about the plagiarism stuff and the cheating stuff and where that lands. So I don't know, I don't have a solution, but that's where my mind always goes to on this, is that's where I actually think the problem is spell check AI? It is.
Yes.
But teachers allow spell check because that's socially normal now to use spell check on a paper. But is using it to have it give suggestions on sentence structure, okay, maybe not in some classes. That's where it gets really mushy for me.
So honestly, that's why there are two things here actually that are up on the screen here. The AI disclosure and academic integrity, I mean, honestly, I would argue that that's going to be such a large part, but outside definitions, because we want to be careful with those, but that's going to be such a large part of this. And really, so the academic integrity, what you're saying is exactly right. So we wanted to lean on things that already existed that we use to base it. Because if a student is cheating because they're doing something at home that they're told not to, or plagiarism is another example, If they're plagiarizing by rewriting the same thing, fundamentally there's no difference between that versus copying out that from a digital version of the book versus also entering a prompt to just get that and copy and paste it in, right? Like, all of those, we all agree, like, would be fundamentally the same bad intention behind the behavior, that we have existing things in the district to be able to deal with. So we really took to lean on those in terms of that catch that you're describing, because absolutely, that's where AI can be, again, just like anything, it's a force amplifier of what you're gonna use it for, good and bad, so. But, so if it, personally, I would think this is where if we wanna make sure we get something right in terms of like where we're putting that, I think it's important. And then disclosure is gonna be a big one, because we wanna make sure that if we're, allowing it, does the student know when we're giving the green light and when we're not giving the green light?
So like-
That will be incumbent on the teachers in a lot of cases, is it okay on this assignment, or is it not okay on this assignment? And to what degree? And there are tools out there that do allow you to basically choose, like, you can use it for research or drafting or whatever, but you cannot use it for the actual writing of the content or something like that, so. But I don't wanna get too specific on that necessarily, because again, we're back to the volatility of AI. Like, that might not be a thing that actually matters in about a year. It might be something a little bit different, so. I'm not sure if that's an actually good answer that you're.
No, it is, there's not an answer, that is good, I just think about like the practicality of that, so, like reading the sentence about like teachers should continuously provide students with specific disclosure standards and expectation for AI use, right? So that to me means that the middle school social studies teacher says like, hey, you're allowed to use it for this, you're not allowed to use it for this. And then it says in the event the teacher does not disclose, that the student should disclose the use of AI with honesty and integrity. They're 11. No, like what does that actually mean? Like, does that mean that if the student used Google, which is AI, to research their paper, at the bottom of their paper, they need to disclose, I used Google for this, or I used GChat spell check for this, or I used ChatGPT to figure out what articles to read? Like, what does that honesty and integrity disclosure mean?
So.
I'm not expecting an answer. It's like a philosophical, but
Yeah.
also,
Yeah, no, I
like,
totally
like I
agree.
don't think you have the answer, but that's where I'm like, this has no, like, what are we doing?
I think part of what we were talking about too was kind of what you referenced, which is like, I think clarity of expectations always goes a long way, so if, and this really lives with really the teacher, in terms of being able to define to students, okay, we're gonna use AI for what we're doing here, but here's how we're gonna use it, and then modeling that for them. Here's how we're gonna use it to assist us with gathering information about such and such. Or, we're not gonna use AI in this. Like, this is a no AI assignment, there's not to be any used, this is the expectation, is you're gonna write what, do what is being expected to do, and AI is not to be used in this. And sort of having some sort of communication around that, where it's clear for kids. Obviously, the challenge comes into, well, if that's something that's violated, how do we determine that? Because that can often be difficult to do with AI compared to other,
Like plagiarism or something.
yeah, exactly.
Which actually uses a lot of plagiarisms caught by AI.
Right. So it's like
we'll go
thief
down
is
that
catching
circle
the-
later.
Yeah, the thief is catching the thief.
Yeah.
So there's no easy answer to this.
I think a lot of the programs that they're, I just went to a PD day where they were talking about Turnitin.
Mhm.
And that, I really, after seeing so many of these platforms over and over, they've really kind of refined how they detect AI use. And I think a lot of the teachers that were at that PD are very clear with their student, as far as like, I was listening, the PD person who was running it was Mrs. Neary of the English department. She was actually showing us what she shows the kids, like, here's how I can tell when you're cheating. See how this machine that I use works? Like, it was, like, she actually showed the kids, like, how it works.
Are you doing the circle in your head, Chess, that they're using AI to show them
Yeah.
how to use AI?
Yeah, he thinks it's okay. But it is, like, how do you find it? Do your teachers make it clear to you when you're turning in a paper? Do they?
We've, it's like through Google, they have like a checker, I don't know exactly how it works, but it runs a plagiarism check.
Mm-hmm. And you're made aware of that's
Yeah.
gonna happen beforehand. So I think teachers are pretty consistent with telling, like communicating with the kids what their expectations are.
I mean, I went to a AI program in the summer, like a workshop, and you know, I learned a lot. It was really good, but I remember walking out of there, and my mind went back to my teacher mind, and I went back to like imagining I was a high school social studies teacher again, and I said to myself, like, I was like, this year, if I'm a high school social studies teacher, I'm thinking to myself, if I want to know it's a student's actual work, they have to do it in front of me.
A lot of them do it.
Yeah.
A lot
You have to
of
do it in
them
front of
do
me,
it. They
because
come right back
if
to
you, like,
handwriting.
if you take it home, I'm not gonna know, you know?
One of the students we had actually that was in our group was very much like, it was very great. They were very pro AI usage, which is really cool, like not to not explore it, but also very much, and part of the reason why we leaned also on this, leaning on the academic integrity policies and other things that we have in the district was because they were also very much, you know, fine saying, yeah, but you like, I like using it and you should not cheat, that's totally not okay. So very much under the understanding that, yeah, like even someone who wants to use it in school and we think like there's gonna be a malicious intent doesn't mean there always actually is, so.
I think the thing that we have to figure out is in North Kingstown, what is cheating? Like what is that's the line that's super blurry right now, I think, is like what is, like it used to be a little easier, right? Like for plagiarism and stuff like that, but like that's the question is like where's the line that crosses over between using AI effectively and usefully and cheating? And that is such a hard,
Really hard.
educators don't know that answer, I don't think, right
I
now.
don't think anybody
It's
knows
very
it.
individual
Yeah.
too.
So
It's on the-
we keep talking about the plagiarism issue and being a STEM science teacher type person, like there's a whole other realm of AI that is dealing with like solving math problems and solving other problems, and I know that we're kind of in this like, you know, when we think about AI and students plagiarizing, it's going in and putting in a prompt and then answering the question, but like on day-to-day homework, I find that that's a huge issue of students like
Looking at the
potentially
answer to
being
the
able
math
just
problem.
to, you know, take a picture of the problem, it gives them the answer, they do it. I mean, it all kind of comes out in the wash when you take an assessment and you don't know how to do it, but there's kind of good and bad with that, right? There's the positive side of like, if I'm really stuck on this problem and I don't have anybody around me to help, like I have this tool. So I guess that's one of my, you know, kind of ideas is that we're kind of stuck in this idea of plagiarism, but it's much bigger than just that. And then the other question I had in not knowing what's happening at the schools, is there preferred platforms or preferred programs that students can use versus like, it seems like right now it's like the Wild West, like there's so many different AI tools out there, but is there like stuff that the students are learning in school as part of this, or is this something that we as a school district will address, like, hey, we're gonna work on this tool, or there's gonna be something across the board where teachers are able to use that platform and there's some consistency across and students have access to that versus, well, this student's using ChatGPT and the student's doing this and the student's doing this, and there's no like kind of accountability piece to that.
That's a big question.
Sorry.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
I'm so
as of,
sorry.
as of right now, we've not locked anybody to a platform, because quite honestly, that's not very helpful right now. This is kind of the tough part of being on this side of in a few years, we'll be able to look back at this so easily. But like, there are tools that we are looking at that are far more education focused, so that way they do kind of maybe, you know, walk you to, not to the answer, but to the procedure that you need to execute to get to the answer. Those, like we do have a pilot of one of those at the high school at the moment. Those are still, I would not say that much different than some of the more general open ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all those. Unfortunately, there's still a little bit of there. Now, that's when it comes at least to a basic classroom. I would argue this comes totally different when it comes down to like using AI for more like tutoring focus. We can get really specific into that as well. Those are more valuable to be rigid, but no, we've not locked anybody out of a platform right now. Quite honestly, because there's not really a good guideline to why you would pick one or the other realistically. So as long as it's not something that's completely off the rails and doesn't, and and actually, a lot of the major platforms have like even signed DPAs for educational use now, because they want people to use it, but they don't.
Same as like Google Scholar.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So on tab 2, I just put what AI says about AI. I'm not joking.
I've asked AI
It's
what it says
actually
about
really
AI too,
smart.
yeah.
It actually is hitting on something interesting on the third tab. Like
Oh,
if
you
you,
got the tabs
do you know how to
thing,
see
that's right,
tabs?
You like that, yeah, I know you like the tabs.
It's helpful, they're good.
Yep.
So the third one down, it talks about student use expectations, and I think it's hitting on what we're talking about a little bit, which it's saying like students may use AI to X, Y, Z, but prohibited uses are 1, 2, 3, 4. And I didn't read them yet, but like I think that where we are in AI land right now, like that's kind of what we might want to be thinking about a little bit, about what in NK is prohibited and what in NK is okay. Like I'm thinking about I teach communications at the college, and I had to rethink my whole grading because I was doing speech writing, and I was like, oh, they can just like literally write me a speech on seals, right? And it'll pop right out. And so I just readjusted how I graded. So like the actual giving of the speech has more weight than the writing of the speech now, because they're like, you just have to think a little differently, I think. But then also in the real world, if they need to write a speech, they're gonna be able to use AI technology to help them. So like, I'd rather have them know if AI is doing a good job or not than actually like putting the pieces together. So that's like another piece of it, I think, too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so what you just described there is actually a big fear that a lot of us had going into why we didn't want to be too restricted,
Yeah.
is because whether we like it or not, to some degree, this will be kind of like the search engine. Research in itself can't be assessed at some point the same way it used to be, because the way you do the research is now very different. Eventually, the way you
It's the
generate
same how
content
when
is
I
going
went
to be
to
very different.
When I went to high school, I went to the thing and I did the thing and
The
I pulled out
redistricting,
the things.
yeah.
But now they don't. Like it's just evolving. And so, but I do think it's interesting, the part about the brainstorming, generating outlines, practice skills, and I would defer to the educators on what that could or could not be, but.
I like this. The question I would anticipate receiving from teachers would be like how is it determined? You know what I mean? How is it determined that such and such was handed in that followed the guidelines that were set? Because from a teacher standpoint, it's really hard to detect it. If AI is used, and again, you made this reference, Aaron, like what's the line? If AI is used in a strategic way, it can be used in a way where it's not going to be detected. You know, it can be used as a tool to really avoid that. Is that just good AI use, or is that cheating? You know, that's the question. And if it is cheating, how do we actually enforce that? You know, so that's where the challenge comes in.
Well, if we were to do like a math problem, right? So like if you were to say, if you know the expectation in your classroom to not use a calculator, but you did use a calculator, I mean, the intent there is the deriver, right? I mean, I think we can derive some of the action by intent.
Right, but the thing is that like if a teacher's telling a kid they can't use a calculator on a test, that kid's taking that test right in front of them. They can see if there's a, you know, whereas if a student has an assignment, they're bringing.
It'd be like saying you can't use your calculator on homework.
Right.
So a good example recently, right, is that we had come up at the high school was like you can't use any tools for translation, but you could use Google Lens to capture the word and translate it.
It's different.
What's different?
Translating is different than a dictionary. So, like, the Google Lens is AI then.
Mhm.
So.
But what I'm saying is if the intention was you can't use any additional tools for this project and you use Google Lens, I mean, you've used an additional tool that you were, like, so that intention is clearly there, even though we've not called out specifically you can't use AI or you can't use Google Lens in particular. I mean, the intention, I think, does matter a little bit there, that we can, I honestly think that we can lean on a little bit.
I'm trying to see if, because I know you said that there's not a lot of good K-12 guidelines and policies, so then I started thinking about, are there any good college guidelines and policies? Because I feel like we've been talking about it a little bit longer than K-12 has for some reason. So I'm looking, Chaz, that might be somewhere to look at.
College is, I don't envy that.
Not good or bad, but like, I don't know if there's any good ones, but like that's just a different, like they might have some language that we think is interesting, or they might have something that they pointed out that we hadn't thought about. Because that's a whole different.
So this one's gonna be fun.
For sure.
Okay, so we'll see this one again
Yeah.
next time too. So we're meeting again in like a week and a half because this was the January meeting that we had now. And we now have an unexpected conflict at the school committee level because we have to go to town council that night. Our scheduled meeting time is 5, which is fine, we can keep that, but I've been asked to see if it's possible that we can start at 4:30. If the answer
What
is
night
no,
is this?
that is the, what is it? Why do I keep losing?
23rd?
Yes. And if the answer is no, that's fine, we can still meet at 5. I'm gonna abbreviate the meeting either way.
I can do 4:30.
Wait, we don't all have to be at the town hall, at town council. It's just the audit, it's them reading us the audit, right?
Yeah.
I can be there whenever.
We don't
For
all
what it's
have,
worth.
we don't all have to be at that. One of us could be here and one of us could be there.
Okay.
Or Rob could be there.
I'm sorry, what was that? Be at the,
They want Ken to be out of here, which was why I was asked.
Oh, so Ken and,
Mhm.
how, cause we're doing the combined audit thing, so I was trying to
Yeah.
say like,
So we can start at 5 and we just will end at like 6:15.
Yeah, or 2 of us leave.
Yeah.
Ken and I leave.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's, on Monday the 23rd?
Monday the 20th.
So it's still at 5?
I thought it was, I thought the town thing was at 7.
Jules asked me to get Ken out of here so that he could like grab something to eat.
No, nobody gets to eat.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Eating? No?
I'll feed him. I will make sure
What
Ken gets food.
nonsense is that?
All right, never mind, we're doing 5.
Let's start at 5.
Okay.
Why did it say 6 to 8 on my calendar at one point?
Yeah, it says that.
I've been 6 to 8 and 5 to 7.
Yeah, we have
do
2.
Me
that,
too.
but-
Because initially there was a budget meeting, which is why we were meeting at 6, but the budget meeting got canceled, so we'll do 5 to 7.
All right, and this other policy, note time change
Oh,
one
it's a
is.
Monday.
So 5 to
Yeah.
7.
I won't be here. I have to teach. We don't meet on Mondays. We don't know what I mean. Have
So
fun.
we'll do 5 to 6:30
Okay,
that night, if that's okay, which is the 23rd.
that'll give us
Yes.
time to get through the cell phone one, hopefully.
You'll finish that one next time.
Yeah, oh, the cell phone is gonna be a piece of cake compared to the AI
The
True.
policy.
yeah, the AI
Yeah.
ones.
Okay,
True.
so 5 to
AI we can-
6:30
I don't
on
think we
Monday
can
the
do it.
23rd.
No, you
Okay.
can't
5 to
though, because when
6:30.
students
Yes,
start cheating
okay.
with it, you
And I
have
will
to
update
tell
that
them.
invitation tonight
Yeah,
so that
but
there's
like-
no confusion,
Okay.
and you won't have 3 calendar invites, and you'll only have 1. Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns before we go? Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.